Behind the Badge Illinois, giving you the inside scoop on public safety and those who protect and serve. Hear real stories directly from law enforcement experts and get a chance to ask questions about issues you've always wanted to know more about. You have the right to remain informed. This is Behind the Badge Illinois.
Welcome to another episode of Behind the Badge Illinois. We're talking public safety today. We're going into the 4th of July weekend. This portion of the show, I guess every portion of the show, is sponsored by me and the fine people at Team Hochberg. You're looking to purchase a new home, refinance your existing home, give us a call. And when I'm not here, Kirk will take over that responsibility because he did such an amazing job last week. You passed the test and get a gold star. 855-56-DAVID. Go to 56david.com. All first responders and their families get all of our origination costs waived, which saves you about $1,495 if and when we ever do a loan for you. Okay, now that we paid for this, let's get into public safety 4th of July, right? We're doing this on the 28th, so we're about a week away. 4th of July, you all know what happens. You get the drunken idiots out there blowing their hands off, shooting bottle rockets at each other, Roman candles at each other, Roman candles at cars, because they think it's funny to watch firecrackers bounce off cars going 5 to 50 miles an hour. And, let's see what happens. And I just wanted to go over first the public safety aspect, right? Do you guys, Dave and Kirk, do you guys have parades? And then I'll throw it to Mimi when she was a colonel of ISP. That what did the men and women in brown or light beige, however, dark brown and light beige, however you want to say it, what type of support, mutual support, did you provide to the municipalities that were doing fireworks? Because a lot of people come, a lot of cars, a lot of activities, a lot of drinking, a lot of partying before the event, during the event, after the event, and how did you guys lend mutual support? But I'll go to Dave, and I'll go up to DeKalb first. Are you guys planning, as a city of DeKalb or as a county of DeKalb, planning any type of celebration? And what are you all doing to make sure that the citizens up there are safe?
Hey, so yeah, Dave. So this is an annual event. I mean, we have a fireworks show every year here in DeKalb, of course, for the 4th of July, and it's a great event. Don't get me wrong. It's a great event, and it's only as great as how safe the event is. So, you initially the thought of it is amazing. Everybody's excited. You have people who come out early and picnic and cook out, well ahead of the actual fireworks display, which usually doesn't happen until after around 8:15. Of course, when it's dark enough for it to have its, amazing effect. So we're we get very excited about the 4th, but we also, of course, as police officers and a law enforcement agency, we got to think of the bad things and the serious things that could happen if we don't do our job and if the public doesn't do their job. So, we, as a law enforcement agency, we can only do so much, Dave. They have to, the public has to be responsible for their own actions as well. And they also should be held accountable for their own public safety. We're going to do our part, but do your part. So part of that is, giving out, of course, every year around this time, getting closer to the 4th, we will push out messaging about fireworks, that they're illegal and they're dangerous, and only let the professionals handle the fireworks, which is the night of whatever the event is. Because you have children, you mentioned some of it already, where you have people who are inebriated, impaired, and they're using fireworks. But I worry a lot about the children, because even as a young kid growing up on the south side of Chicago, I mean, we were able to get our hands on fireworks, firecrackers, M80s, and there were a lot of, if you ask hospital staff, if you had someone on from the hospital, they would tell you how many cases they get with kids blowing their fingers off, all kind of crazy injuries to eyes, and some of that stuff is extremely sad, because you got young kids who are basically getting disfigured, for the rest of their life based on, using a firework or something like that. And and we have, Indiana where it's legal, so we're right on the border, and then, a lot of people go across the border, get their fireworks, come back to Illinois, and that's something I know when it gets to Mimi, she can talk about, because when I was with ISP, we definitely did firework details on the border of Indiana, Illinois, to try to keep illegal fireworks from coming into the state. But so it's all about safety, Dave. The messaging, you got to put it out there. The officers, of course, are going to be deployed. It's a major event, so you got a lot of people. So you always got to do a threat assessment to make sure that everyone is safe. We'll have our drone up. I mean, we have a lot of resources that we're going to throw at 4th of July just to make sure that the event is actually how it should turn out, which is actually a good time. We're celebrating. It should be good, but we have to all do our part.
All right, good. We'll go down to O'Fallon. Are you guys having any type of celebration, Kirk, or
We
surrounding
do all of
suburbs?
our fireworks celebrations during the day to limit the number of people that come out there. No, I'm just kidding. No nighttime. We do something similar. Yeah, we do have a fireworks display on July 3rd in one of our city parks, and like Dave said, it's taxing on public safety. And I like to tell our officers, I said, the things that make our community so amazing, the parades, the festivals, the different events that we have, are very taxing and very hard on public safety. Because while everybody wants to come out and have a great time, and they do, they have a wonderful time, families come out, they're only able to do this because there's people on the back end of this working to make sure that everybody's safe. So I constantly remind, in law enforcement, it's a little bit of a secret that we just don't like we don't like parades, we don't like anything, because we're the ones that are working these things, and we're on the back end of this thing, making sure, with eagle eyes and heads on a swivel, making sure that the things go off safe. Because essentially, we see a lot of the bad things that have happened throughout the country, with Highland Park and parades and different things like that. In the last few years, we've implemented so many more safety procedures because of those things. And I think because of those, we are safer, because we are a lot more vigilant. We have a lot more officers out there. We have a lot more hard barricades out there. So yeah, it is definitely a challenge. It's something that we start working on months in advance for these things. And I've got my command staff that is constantly doing these things, especially with our festivals, meeting months and months in advance, trying to make sure that all of these things go off perfectly, and everybody has.
Before I throw it to Mimi about the about Uncle Dan's and all the crazy firework warehouses, just over the border in the great state of Indiana, how much did the 4th of July 2 years ago impact you guys putting police on the roofs or incorporating drones? Because obviously, if you've never been to downtown Highland Park, it's like any type of other small town. Mayberry, it's a little bigger, probably 3-4 times bigger than O'Fallon, but it's still on the grid pattern. And this individual parked themselves on the top of a drugstore right in the parade route and went crazy. So are you?
It was immediate. It was immediate. Once we saw what happened there,
yeah.
Once we saw there was also a parade, a Christmas parade, where somebody had driven through the parade. So once those things happened, we put things in place immediately. It used to be that you'd have an officer on every other corner, and they'd be standing out there and waving and, and watching the parade. Now every single street has a hard barricade. It's either a police car, it's a dump truck, it's some kind of concrete barricades that Public Works brings out. And then, yes, never in my career have we had somebody that's been on a roof. We put people on roofs now. We put officers on the rooftops. We deploy drones. For a while there, drones were not allowed to be deployed. Just a few years ago, they changed the law that allowed us to deploy drones to monitor crowds and keep people safe. But yeah, we do. We do all of that right now. Changed.
We learned, to piggyback Kirk saying, the worst part about law enforcement, it's always been this way and it'll always be this way. I mean, we learn from our incidents, like especially when they're extremely serious and and when people get hurt. Unfortunately, we learn from those. We learn so much from those things, and we learn from other agencies, from other incidents, from different places, outside of the country, within the United States. So we have to be prudent when we hear about these things, Dave, and we see these things to make changes in our own jurisdictions to make sure that we don't fall victim to those type of situations. I mean, you feel sad about it, but then it's just like when you're a parent, and you like, God, you hear about a story of, oh my God, it's somebody, you have some kids who got crashed on prom and they died, and you feel bad for them, but first thing you think, God, thank God it wasn't my kid, right? It's selfish, but it's human nature, and I think that's in law enforcement. You feel the same way, like, wow, damn, that's messed up, and you're upset about it, and you feel for everyone, but then you think, like, man, wow, that could have been us, though, and you're happy it isn't, but then how do you prevent it from being you, right? So you live. And you talk to those officers from those different towns, and you try to figure out how to fortify your event even better and make it more safe. So we have Corn Fest here every year. We've always had Overwatch. So Overwatch meaning that there's a SWAT component, and you do see them on rooftops with a spotter and you can deploy a sniper if needed. So a lot of times you'll see that now. If you have those type of resources where you can have Overwatch, it's a great thing to do. Every municipality, every department doesn't have those resources though. So you can't. Some departments can't do those type of things. But if you have the ability to do it, why wouldn't you? Right? It's only going to make the event safer. You get your drone up. You do have like Kirk said, you got your hard barricades up, and you're worried. You got your foot patrols. High visibility by police officers is a deterrent. So you want to try to put your best foot forward, Dave, on any of these type of events when you're dealing with big crowds, mass crowds, and make sure that the event goes off like it's supposed to.
Now let's go back to Mimi now. So for the listeners that might be down O'Fallon and don't know what's going on up here, you've got warehouses full of firecrackers right over the border in Indiana. And literally within 5-10 miles inside Indiana, you could buy any type of firecracker, fireworks you want. And is it illegal in Illinois to have fireworks? And also on the other side of Wisconsin too. I mean, right in Kenosha, they set up stands and trucks come, I don't know how safe that is, but semis come, park on the side of the road, would be, buy fireworks here because they know the folks in Illinois don't have those type of resources. So Mimi, is it illegal to transport fireworks across state line?
Yes, it is. Yes. So, I mean, they're not illegal or they're not legal in Illinois. Okay. So, it's very tempting when you have the surrounding states that sell the fireworks. It's very tempting for Illinoisans to go across the border and buy fireworks. And to Dave's point earlier, so we do details where our priority is to stop the fireworks from coming into Illinois, and usually they're on 80. I mean, that's a big thoroughfare, because if you've been on 80 and 65, that's where a lot of the firework places are. They advertise them on the billboards. So that's what we would do. We would work hand in hand, and we would have, details, and, a few days before the 4th, depending on when the 4th was. And we would focus on confiscating, fireworks from the cars of, coming back to Illinois. So, and then something else that I wanted to touch on too was just the assistance that we give the local municipalities. I know you mentioned that around the 4th. So obviously the state police, we're on the expressways, we're not in the communities, but we provide a lot of assistance around the 4th of July to local towns. Usually I would say, 9 out of 10 times we're on a perimeter. So we're that outer perimeter for them, traffic control. But then the requests that come in, sometimes we might do details in their DUI enforcement or, any type of assistance that we can provide. And I do know, like, right around, I would say probably a month prior to 4th of July, we get a lot of requests from, a lot of the towns and the agencies. And obviously we can't help everybody. We would love to, but we can't. So what we've been doing is we'll take our troopers and we'll, if they're in a certain area, like I'll just use Tinley Park for an example. So say, Tinley asks us, we'll keep troopers on that in that area off of 80. In the event that something does happen, the response time will be quicker. They'll be able to respond to some sort of an emergency. So we're there. We're always there for our local municipalities to assist in any way, shape, or form that we can during the 4th of July.
How do you prioritize that, right? So you've got Tinley, you've got Orland, you got Orland Hills, you got Orland Park, you got all the Orlands, you got all the different hometown, you got all the different South Side towns down there. How does ISP prioritize where you're going to be, or is it just a big macro, like they're all having it? Okay, let's pick a centralized point that we could cover 5-6 different towns at the same time within a centralized location. How does that work with prioritizing?
Yeah, it's the latter. So I would say it's more or less like, okay, this is your area coverage. If anything happens in this area, you would hit this suburb, that suburb. That's how it works. However, if there's intelligence, we follow the intelligence. We always follow the intelligence prior to. So if there is intelligence that could be, this could be a worse situation or something, there's so many things that comes through intelligence. We might focus on that area a little bit more. No one will know that though. We'll in-house, inside, follow the intelligence that we might get from a certain municipality. We'll vet it, and we may put more people in that area. But it's very hard. It's very hard to say, we're going to put a bunch of people here. Well, what about this suburb over here? So we have to be very careful about it. We don't want to say here, we have favorites because everybody's safety is important to us, no matter what suburb you're in or municipality. So we really try to, I would say we follow the intelligence first. And secondly, we would put our troopers in an area where they would be able to assist at any point in time off the expressway. And, and again, we do a lot of details also, meaning we're doing, whether it's speed details or DUI enforcement, to get more troopers out on the road. So there'll be more troopers on the road during the 4th of July that we will be federal hirebacks just to bring them out to the street so that we have more that we can spread if we have to.
Get back to the fireworks. If you pull over a car and they pop the trunk and it's loaded, do you just confiscate the fireworks? Do you give them a ticket? Is it a misdemeanor? I mean, what type of fines? What do the troopers do when they pull over a car with the trunk full of fireworks?
Well, when they pull over, they're confiscating them, obviously, and they're making an arrest. I mean, yeah. I mean, they're 9 out of 10 times, yes. I mean, are there times where they might just confiscate them? But it's illegal, and they're following procedure, and they're making an arrest out of that. Now, If it's one bottle rocket, I would probably say no.
Right.
So, again, it's the discretion of our officers on the situation. So, I'm confident that they're always, following the procedure and doing exactly what they think they need to do on that traffic stop.
All right, I want to cover 3 more things. I want to cover public involvement. I want to cover DUIs and the calls you guys get that we have challenge with here, because my neighbor across the street thinks fireworks sound better at 1 a.m. for some unknown reason, right in the middle of the street. Even though he's got a gigantic backyard, he could blow the fireworks off. He decides to do it against the street, which is a whole nother story. Nice guy. He just 1 o'clock seems to be his sweet spot. So public involvement, the only reason I'm asking is I took that Citizen Policing Academy. The email went out to all of the graduates, right? Saying, hey, 4th of July parade here in Northbrook. We've got a parade 1 to 5, and we've got the fireworks from 6 to 9. We're looking for volunteers. how big of that? And so, of course, me being Mr. Police Academy graduate, as I am, I volunteered to do traffic control and everything else. So I'm kind of looking forward to that, to be honest. I asked for a badge and a gun and they turned me down, but I put the request in. Actually, my chief here told me that he'd give me a long gun because it'd be tough to sit in the car and put that in a holster. So yeah, appreciate my chief here.
That's great.
Yeah. So how important is it? You know, this is obviously towards Kirk and Dave. You know, how important is public involvement and public volunteerism during these type of events?
I can answer that. You know, we don't at present, we don't use a lot of the public volunteers. We're in the process of starting what's called a CERT team, which is like a civilian emergency response team. I look at it like when we have these events, and if you have the public that's willing to help out, then you need to provide them with some kind of a training. And at this point, we don't have the resources in place to do that. We do use some of our police explorers, we use some of our public works employees and other employees like that. But that is definitely something that we're looking into as our events get bigger and bigger and bigger, because you only have a certain number of police officers. You know, we have 50 police officers in our town. And if you've got, if you're calling in 25 of them to work this event, and then the other, you've got your other ones working the streets, some of these guys have to go home and sleep sometimes. So yeah, it is definitely something that I think a lot of police departments and smaller communities use volunteers to help out, that force multiplier. But it's kind of important too to make sure that they have some kind of a training. Hopefully they've given you the training that you 100%. Need to be successful there.
Yeah, I've been watching police videos the past couple of weeks ever since I got Chief Kennedy. Actually told me that if I assault anybody, that I will be arrested in front of everybody. He'll take me down. So just want to throw that out there.
And realistically, if you throw if a volunteer there on a corner and they can put their own car there as a hard barricade, that's a lot better than having nothing at all. And it's a perfect little multiplier there.
Dave, you do anything up in DeKalb to get the public involved in that sort of public safety?
Yeah, we use our interns. We have of course we have community service officers, so we have several of those. And then we also have DeKalb County Sheriff. Of course, they come and give us a force multiplier with some of their staffing. So we usually have enough bodies just with that alone. We just encourage for us more for the public, like I said early on in my first statement, that they have to be responsible for their own public safety. So, we just want to get the messaging out and make sure that they do their part, if we have, like I said, we have enough staffing to handle the routes, the security, but I just, I want to put a lot of this responsibility back on the public, and because this is the type of thing that you actually can't control. You can choose not to do these things. So we're going to push it back on them with our messaging. They understand. We do respond to calls of the fireworks on a regular basis on the 4th of July. We take action when we can. Like Mimi said, we also use our discretion on whether to make an arrest or not. Most of these are just citations anyway, for the most part, some of these things, because, with the Safety Act, we're not locking people up for this kind of stuff anyway. So it's not a detainable offense, so we wouldn't be doing that. But at the end of the day, it's still, what it does is it depletes our manpower, which we should be handling more serious calls. And we triage these, of course, but we get this hundreds of calls every 4th of July. Well, not even just the 4th. The 3rd, the 2nd, heck, they'll probably start this weekend, to be honest with you, because people get out there early and start using fireworks way before the 4th of July. So, and people are very upset. A lot of people, they worry about their canines that they own. So their dogs, of course, don't always, majority of the dogs don't like the fireworks. So you'll get a lot of calls just based on that alone. So, public has to do their part, though, Dave.
All right. So I'm gonna throw it to you, Mimi. drinking and driving and DUIs. So how do you set up those type of stops, right? Are you setting up hard stops, doing checks? Are you putting up, obviously, I would assume, because I've seen it on the flasher boards, like don't drink and drive. Are there, I mean, how do you keep the public safe as well as your troopers safe when you were a colonel? Because, you know, you're out there and you guys and gals are the eyes and the ears of public safety on the state roads here. How do you go about setting up those type of programs to keep everybody safe on a weekend that you know there's going to be heavy alcoholic consumption on a regular basis?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it kind of goes in phases. It's prior to the forthcoming. So you want to get the word out. You want to do some PSAs, public safety announcements, that the 4th of July is coming. This is what you do. We try to get the word out earlier. We also work in conjunction with IDOT. IDOT is the one that puts up all those
Messages.
Well, the sayings, I do like them. I just saw another one. They have some catchy marketing there. Like someone must be coming up with those phrases. So they'll put that out on all the boards that you see all across the state. And so getting the word out and talking about it prior, I think is a huge thing, because you're starting to make people aware of the drinking and driving. You know, find a ride, Uber, there's right now, to me, there is no reason why anybody should ever be driving drunk now. We have too many resources and things, that drivers that will come and pick you up in minutes to drive you home. So we try to push all of those. And then secondly, what the actual, state police, what we do, we have a lot of details. We focus on DUI enforcement. We have roadside safety checks on given locations across Illinois. We work with our partners. So, it's more or less DUI awareness. We're trying to keep the motoring public safe. We're trying to keep our troopers safe, because we're out there on that road, and the last thing anyone wants to do is get involved or get hit by a drunk driver. So I would say a lot of it's awareness. A lot of it is just making those traffic stops, focusing on the DUI drivers, and getting them off the street so that everybody comes home safe that night.
On a cost basis, because I'm the numbers guy here, right? I'm a mortgage guy, I'm a numbers guy. I think about it. You get pulled over, okay, you get arrested. You got to call a tow truck if you're alone to get that truck off the road. Is that correct? Or do you guys just leave the car on the side of the road? How does that work?
Tow them all.
It's a tow truck. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Definitely impounded.
So you get arrested, you got to hire an attorney, you get your car towed. I mean, this is just the cost of an Uber or the cost of a cab or the cost of a limo, whatever you're doing, depending on, where you're at, versus the cost of having all of that on your record. And just, I just don't understand. I don't drink, right? Never did. Driving, I never understood that. So I can't comprehend why people would do that, but it just blows my mind why people would put themselves in danger, other in danger, and then the cost associated with all of that nonsense just completely blows my mind.
Well, Dave,
go ahead, Kurt.
When people drink, they make poor decisions.
100%.
Fact, and it is a fact of life. The more they drink, they make poor decisions, and you're exactly right that there are so many opportunities out there to get a ride home. And I feel like some of this is changing generationally, because when I talk to my children about it, my children are grown and they're in their 20s, and they're like, no, why would we ever drink and drive? There's Ubers. We take an Uber anytime we want to go out. My generation was not that way. I can remember being younger and making dumb decisions and having friends make dumb decisions because it wasn't available and you just thought you could do that. But I feel like the message is getting out there. We still do have people that drink and drive. That's why we're still out there. And we still have people using drugs and driving. And that's just impaired driving in general. But you're right. People make poor decisions when they start drinking. And that's the consequence of it.
And Kirk, something, you make such a good point, because you are so right. My daughter's 24, and that's exactly what they think. She's like, "Oh no, we're Ubering. We're taking an Uber tonight. Like we're all gonna pitch in for an Uber." So it's good to see that. It's good to see that they're thinking ahead, they're planning ahead because they don't want to drink and drive, which is great.
Yeah, I think I'm sorry. Well, here, no, Dave, you chime in. What are you guys doing up in DeKalb during this event? Right? Are you having officers walking through the parade ground, you know, being visible and saying, "Hey, you know, you're not driving," you know, joking around like, "Hey, you're not driving, right?" You know, you're popping down a couple of whatever the hell you're popping down. "Hey, you're not driving, right?" Because you know that you know that's against the law. Are you reminding those folks at the parade before the fireworks while they're having fun and messing around? How are you handling that?
Yeah, so exactly. You know, we do a lot of foot patrols. Like I said, we saturate the park, and we have a very big park here. But officers are looking for, you know, multiple things, Dave. It's you know, are they looking for illegal consumption of alcohol? Yes. There are people who are who have active warrants that we know. We see them, we spot them, we take them. So we're looking at that. There are people who we know have been involved in shootings, and we you know, this might be the time when we put eyes on them. So we have undercovers in the crowd who are just mingling with the crowd. They don't have on any police insignias, anything that identifies them as a police officer, and they're spotting for us. So we have them going through the crowd because this is an opportunity for us to take some people into custody as well. And if we see that opportunity, we're going to do it because we do have some people who are wanted for some serious crimes in DeKalb, and this is the time, although they're not smart about it, because if they were smart, of course, they wouldn't be in the trouble they're in. But if you want to come out on 4th of July thinking that we're not going to spot you and we're not going to take you in custody, you're sadly mistaken. So officers are looking for several different type of violations. Of course, you know, DUIs, of course, are extremely impactful on people's lives. You know, it's one of the most, I'm just going to tell you, it's a stupid thing to do. It's stupid. There's no reason for you to do it. We already talked about it. You have two opportunities to do the right thing. If you know you're going out to drink in the first place, you could take an Uber, plan ahead, and do it that way. Okay, you didn't do that. You didn't know you were going to stop off, so it wasn't really planned, but you did. At that point, get somebody to come pick you up. You know, I've always offered that. I'm a non-drinker. I've never drank. I tell people that all the time. I tell my officers that when they go out, because they go out and have a good time as well. I think I just had a young lady who works for me who just had a bachelorette party. I told them, if any of you guys need a ride, call me. I have no problem with getting up and coming to get someone and getting them home safe. I think we all need to have someone in our lives that we can depend on for that type of situation. We all should. And that's how you avoid DUIs. Dave, we've been dealing with DUI enforcement since the beginning of time. I don't know, you know, at least, you know, well before I started my career. And at this point, we still see people driving intoxicated who are killing people on a regular basis. And it's terrible. It's, you know, it's something that does not have to happen. This is something that is completely preventable, completely. We just got to do the right thing and make the calls. And like Mimi said, you got, you talk about on New Year's Eve in Chicago, you can get on the train for a penny. You can get on the dang on bus for a penny. You know, there's no reason at all for you to ever be driving under the influence. You're making a conscious decision when you do that. So there should be consequences that people need to pay them.
Is this one of the biggest weekends, the 4th of July? I'm just assuming as Joe Blow Public here, you know, I would assume New Year's and
sure, New Year's.
That two biggest?
Well, and then you got
Memorial Day.
Yep, you got the new one though, which is the night before Thanksgiving. So that has come prevalent even more over the last probably 5 years because they get, people get, they get tanked up the day before Thanksgiving. It's a thing, I'm telling you. And that came with most of the new generation. That's become another day that we have to target in law enforcement. But normally You know, the night, New Year's Eve, of course, 4th of July, Super Bowl Sunday, no doubt about it. I mean, those are, and when I was with ISP, and Mimi could contest to this, those are the days that we targeted for heavy DUI enforcement. We put overtime details together for that. There's federal monies, federal overtime for that, and those are the days that we really attack DUI drivers day. But 4th of July is definitely on the top 5 of the list. So,
Kirk, you were saying at any 3-day weekend down O'Fallon, your arrests go up for DUI because you're all down there like to party on those 3-day weekends. Is that it? Labor Day, Memorial Day, you're throwing in there?
No, we're pretty good down here. We all obey the laws down here. Yeah, it's really anything. And I think it's important to know that too, like a lot of departments throughout the state will participate in what's called a STEP grant that's put through the Illinois Department of Transportation with federal funds. And they offer abilities to hire back officers to come back at an overtime rate to go out there and try to combat the impaired driving. And those are sponsored and then put on by the Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police and IDOT. So, you know, I never have a problem. You know, I sometimes when you put people out for speed details and different things like that, you know, people might say, oh, you're just trying to generate revenue. I'll put people out every single day if you give me overtime money to combat impaired driving, because there's really no defense for somebody getting behind a wheel who's been impaired or who's been drinking. So we will unabashedly take people to jail for DUI every single day that we can.
And you know, I look at ads all the time because that's what I do, right? That's my business. I got to look at ads. So you just kind of think of it. The number of DUI attorneys that are advertising now are not as prevalent as they were back in the day. Right now, it's a slip and fall. Right? You know, attorneys. You know, Turner and Rowe, 222, 2222, whatever that is. You know, you got a lot of the ambulance chasing guys. Whoa, what? There you go. I just blacked out. But yeah, I just found that interesting. All right, so let's talk about your local. Did the state police ever get calls for fireworks? Or it just wasn't your thing, Mimi?
No, I mean, I would say not. No, I mean, it was really the locals. It really starts from the locals. I mean, I would say every now and then you'd get someone shooting fireworks out of their vehicle on the expressway on the Dan Ryan, but that's not common. It mainly comes from within the local municipalities.
And Kirk down O'Fallon, what do you guys do to combat that?
Oh, so, well, you know, fireworks for years and years and years. I mean, you've got Indiana's got them, and then we're 15 minutes from St. Louis, Missouri, they're legal. So it was what I would consider to be for many years a socially acceptable law to break. You know, it was okay. I mean, people didn't mind. And even to this day, we get people commenting back and forth on our Facebook posts when we put out, you know, these pre-fireworks things, letting people know that they're illegal. And then some people are like, well, we love America, you hate America. And, you know, I can't believe it. And then this person says, well, what about PTSD? And my dogs can't handle it. And some people say, quit being a baby. And it's back and forth. So there is just two different sides, people who love fireworks and people who absolutely hate them. We made a conscious decision a few years ago, and it wasn't terribly popular, that we cite people. Now, you know, and it's, if we have the probable cause, if you're setting off illegal fireworks, we're giving you a city ordinance violation. You know, it's not going to be the end of the world. You're not going to prison, but you're going to get a fine of anywhere from $75 to $750, depending on how many times you did it and what our city attorney wants to do. So, actually, it's $250 to $750. I think it's $250 the first, $500, and then $750 if you get it a third time. So, yeah, so we are issuing citations. It's not a terribly popular thing because essentially what happens is a neighborhood is out there having a good time, having a party. There's kids out there, there's parents, and then the police show up and end their party. So, I mean, it's not very popular, but it is what we are mandated to do, and it's the law. And we get complaints, and when we see it happening, we respond and we deal with it accordingly. So.
Yeah, unfortunately, people are going to do stupid things, and you can't patrol. And there's not a law against stupidity.
And like you said, it's a socially acceptable law to break. The people that are buying the fireworks and setting them off in town are generally good people who don't break other laws. They just feel like fireworks don't apply to to them.
Well, and I guess what I meant with the stupid, just to clarify, is when you do it and you know that somebody's got a vet down the street, and you know that there's an elderly dog next to you who's sensitive, and you just don't care. You know what I mean? And you know that I do a lot of work with veterans as well, and those loud sounds are not good for what they went through, and it's detrimental to them. All right, we're gonna end it on a high note here. Crazy stories while patrolling during the 4th of July weekend. Mimi, you got one?
I don't have any. I'm trying to think of specific stories. But I guess like around 4th of July, I can just remember always working. Like we worked midnights, on patrol, and we always worked. We worked every single 4th of July. I don't even think I ever had a 4th of July off while I was on the street, but it was fun. Like, honestly, like it was a lot of fun. Like I really, we had a good time out there. Like Dave said, we were running 2-man, 3-man cars on a lot of those nights. And just, you were constantly busy. The night went by so fast because you were going call to call to call to call. And then whether or not you were in some of the local, municipalities helping out, we would touch in there. It was a lot. I mean, we had fun. We had a blast working on the midnight shift. And just, I tell you, being the police, it's just you are given that front row ticket seat to some of the most chaotic, craziest things that the rest of the world will never see. So it's a great job.
We had, in those nights too, Dave, we were able to eat. Like the fire department would always be barbecuing, and then IDOT over at 35th and Normal by Whitesides Park, they would have food on the grill. So it's kind of like, you go out there and work, but then, you can go take a break, run in and get a burger or get something to eat off the grill at either one of those type of locations. So it was, it wasn't all, work. It was, we enjoyed working it, but, of course, the overall goal was to, provide public safety, but we made a good time of it. We did.
All right, Kirk, take us out with a funny story down.
No, I never worked I never worked 4th of July. I always stayed home and shut off fireworks. So it was just actually I wish I had a great story. And any story I'm thinking of right now is not safe for the public. So unfortunately, that's where I'd have to leave it. Maybe we go offline. I can tell you some.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, just in closing, you want to leave any message to the public that might be looking at this going to the 4th of July to keep themselves safe? We'll go around the horn, starting with Mimi, with your experience as a colonel in the ISP.
Yeah, I would say, don't drink and drive. Number one, find a ride. There's so many resources that, you can drive home safely. And as far as the fireworks go, Dave said it in a few words, leave it to the experts. They're the ones that know how to do the fireworks, and, keep your children away from it. There's so many good firework safety tips online too, that you can just glance over as well. So, and have a safe 4th of July and make it home safe.
Kirk, you want to give a safety tip, bud?
Hey, going into this weekend, there's somebody that's going in with 10 fingers and coming out with 9. So just think about that before you decide to drive over to Missouri and spend all your hard-earned money on fireworks that may or may not be confiscated and destroyed and a citation. So,
all right, Dave, want to wrap it up, buddy?
I tell you what, I feel the same way. I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was a New York Giants, famous New York Giant defensive end who lost several of his fingers playing around with fireworks, and it somewhat affected his career. So it's not just regular folks. You got people who are prominent who do the same silly things. So the things that happen like this. So to
Oh, there goes Chief Bird.
Oh, no.
Somebody cut his stream there. All right, well.
Hey, Dave, one
Yeah.
last thing, like on behalf of Kirk and Dave, because they're still sworn. Just, thanks to all the law enforcement officers and public safety that are working on the 4th of July to keep everybody safe. We owe a big thank you and shout out to them. So thank
Amen.
you all for what you all do on this night to make sure that you get home safe and everyone else gets home safe too. So.
Well, that's a great way to end the segment of Behind the Badge Illinois. Thank you, Chief Bird that fell off there. I don't know what happened. I think they lost internet up in DeKalb or maybe in his home. Chief Bruggeman and retired Colonel Mimi McGraw. Do you want to add one other thing, Mimi?
His phone died out. His phone went dead. He just texted the group.
All you young would-be police chiefs out there, you might want to think of charging your phone while you're doing a podcast. Thanks for watching Behind the Badge Illinois. If you have any questions or comments, you can email me behindthebadgeillinois@gmail.com. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. Kirk, Mimi, enjoy your 4th. Be safe. Take care, guys.